Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I am back with the second match that I had at the Brooklyn Premier Challenge this last weekend. If you have not seen the first battle already, I will link that in the description below. It was a pretty exciting fight. After winning that round in a pretty convincing battle, I was feeling pretty good, but of course, for me to have advanced in this tournament, I needed to go at least 5-1, so I could only afford to lose one game in the next 5, and in the next match, I was paired with someone called Anthony. Anthony was rocking a pretty cool team. You see the 4 that he brought to the game of Golduck, Rayquaza, Xerneas, and Crobat. The 2 he also had on his team were Lopunny and Ferrothorn. Of course, I was running the Groudon Palkia team. You see my 4 there, and the 2 that I didn't bring were Amoonguss and Landorus-T. So in team preview, after seeing his 6, there were a bunch of things I identified. First of all, Trick Room would be relatively easy to set up with Cresselia, given that his only answers to it were Crobat with Taunt and Lopunny with Fake Out. And the reason why I decided to lead with Groudon alongside Cresselia was because Groudon put on immense pressure against the Crobat and the Lopunny, which I figured he'd probably lead with one of the 2. Rayquaza and Golduck are both Pokemon that Groudon don't really want to see, especially outside of Trick Room, but Groudon can easily mitigate that by going for a Protect, and I figured that Trick Room would be relatively easy to set up. Even if Cresselia went down, I still had Palkia as an alternative to setting up Trick Room, and Kangaskhan in the back to double edge everything outside of Trick Room was super helpful as well. So I felt pretty good about my Pokemon choice. There wasn't really much reason to bring Amoonguss, especially given that he had a Taunt Crobat and a Rayquaza with Dragon Ascent. And Landorus-T here, Intimidate didn't really help me out too much. Would have helped out against Rayquaza and the Ferrothorn had my opponent brought it, but I wanted to go more on the offensive spectrum, and I felt like Kangaskhan, Groudon, Palkia really gave me enough resources to do so. So let's finally get into this battle, and as always, if you enjoy it, please share your support by leaving a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. As I've mentioned, I'll be uploading all my other battles from this tournament as well in the upcoming days, so look forward to that. Seems like you guys enjoyed that first round battle a lot. So, I lead with my Cresselia and Groudon as mentioned, and I'm really happy to see that he goes with Crobat and Xerneas, because I can basically go straight for the Eruption and the Trick Room. It's a little bit of a risky play, and I contemplated protecting with Groudon, but I figured Protect from Groudon was actually somewhat obvious, and I was scared of the Geomancy from the Xerneas, because if he Geomancies and I don't get any damage off, then it'll be even harder to knock out. So I figure he's probably going to want to taunt Cresselia there, but he actually goes straight for the Super Fang, so I'm feeling okay about this, because that means Xerneas is either going to Moonblast or Geomancy. He does go for the Moonblast, and my Cresselia is really bulky, so I should be able to survive this, but he actually gets a critical hit, which is really unfortunate. You'd imagine that the battle probably would have been right over from the start, because I got this Eruption off, full damage. Crobat is going to faint here, and Xerneas takes around 80% of damage. So had Cresselia got in Trick Room up there, I think the game literally just would have been over on the first turn, and that's because my lead matchup was so good. So that was a little bit frustrating, but it's still not the end of the world. I do get the free switch into Kangaskhan here, and I know that once Kangaskhan Mega Evolves, it'll be able to pick up the knockout onto Xerneas. However, I'm a little bit scared right now because Golduck is a Pokemon that sometimes carries Choice Scarf, so if he does have Choice Scarf, given his ability, and given that Rayquaza has Airlock, he can instantly go for a Skull to knock out my Groudon, so I really have to be a little bit careful here. And the play I make is, I figure if he's Choice Scarf, then I can just Fake Out Eruption. If he's not Choice Scarf, then that means he's going to go for the Protect, and next turn I can just go straight for the Double Edge. So I do go for the Fake Out here, and I'm happy to see that Xerneas switches out, because that means I don't take any damage, and I do get a free Eruption off against Rayquaza. Of course, with Rayquaza and Golduck out, it means that I don't get the Sun Boost because the ability technically isn't around, but I'm okay with that as I do deal around 40% of damage to the Rayquaza. This next turn though, I'm not going to risk it. I actually pulled the switch out into Palkia, and I know that Kangaskhan right now is faster than Rayquaza before it Mega Evolves, so if he goes for an attack with Rayquaza, then I can just double edge and knock it out, and that's what I'm hoping for right now, and that's the play I make, because I figure he might want me to target the Golduck, hoping for my Groudon to stay around. So, having gotten a bit unlucky that first turn, I do try to make the right plays, and fortunately enough, the Rayquaza does not go for the Protect, so the double edge comes out, and it picks up the knockout onto Rayquaza, and now I'm feeling really good about my chances, because now Rayquaza, or excuse me, now that Rayquaza's gone, Kangaskhan's the fastest Pokemon against both Golduck and against the Xerneas. So he goes for the Skull here. I know that even if he gets a burn against Kangaskhan, that's fine, but he actually just targeted down the Groudon. So Palkia, being able to 4 times resist that, switches in, gets burned, but, I'm pretty happy about that since Groudon is still around. So I am up 3-2 now. Xerneas is heavily damaged, and I know that even if I get burned, I'll still be able to knock it out with a double edge. So I'm just going to double edge twice into that slot, knowing that I outspeed him. And the Palkia here also can finish things off with Spatial Rends against the Golduck. So both times he doesn't end up protecting with the Xerneas and the Rayquaza, and I'm able to fully capitalize off that as I pick up the knockout there. So And now I'm up 3-1, and Kangaskhan can obviously deal with Golduck by itself, but I also have Palkia and Groudon, and I can just set up Trick Room and go from there. He actually gets another Scald Burr on Kangaskhan, which is a little bit unfortunate, but at this point it's already basically over. Main point in this match was that I was able to knock out Rayquaza and that he decided to attack that turn instead of protecting. Kind of had to go for that play, and I figured if I got that play, I had the game 100% won, which was the case. A little bit risky, and Anthony actually just ends up forfeiting. So, pretty quick game here. Looking back, you know, the lead matchup played out absolutely perfectly for me. I got a little bit unlucky given that Cresselia went down to the critical hit, but had to make one big play, and picking up the knockout onto Rayquaza was that play. In retrospect, I think, like, maybe leading with something like Golduck and Rayquaza could have put on some more offensive pressure, but I'm sure he wasn't expecting to see Groudon, and he was hoping to just get a Xerneas sweep right from the beginning. But, you know, my strategy going into this game was, okay, I'm going to set up Trick Room, and I'm going to kind of go from there. Kangaskhan actually did a very good job, even outside of Trick Room, and just being able to put Fake Out pressure and getting the double edge off against Rayquaza, which was really nice. Ultimately, looking back, you know, I actually didn't set up Trick Room until the late game, but that ended up being okay because Kangaskhan was faster than his remaining 3 Pokemon and Rayquaza before it Mega Evolved. So that was a really good deal after knocking out the Crobat. And yeah, I mean, that's how important lead matchups are. The fact that he didn't switch into Rayquaza or Golduck the first turn, maybe that could have helped him out as well, though it would have meant Trick Room going up. So yeah, ultimately I think for Anthony to have had a great chance of winning this game, going for the Protect on Rayquaza definitely would have been the play, because then he'd be able to outspeed and maybe even knock out my Kangaskhan given his moveset and his power, since Mega Rayquaza is really strong, especially when it carries a Life Orb. And, you know, it also came down to the nature. For example, if he wasn't max speed, then Kangaskhan would have been able to outspeed him and knock him out regardless, but if he was max speed, then that definitely would have given him a pretty good shot at winning the game, because then, you know, my Palkia's in, but then Kangaskhan doesn't have Protect, so you can go for a free attack onto that slot, maybe even double up to pick up a knockout, and then it comes down to some mind game, so it would have made the game a little bit closer. But yeah, the lead matchup there was excellent for me. The first turn didn't go so well, but I was able to come back from it, and Palkia and Kangaskhan and Groudon really putting on so much offensive immediately were really able to come through. Don't think Landorus-T or Amoonguss really would have helped me out too much, so Pokemon choice-wise, I was very content with the 4 that I brought, and I figured it would deal with anything my opponent had. And it would have been cool to see Lopunny on Anthony's side, since, you know, I don't know if it was Mega Lopunny or regular Lopunny, and Fake Out pressure would have been pretty interesting, but another way to stop Trick Room is to just get a crit and knock out Cresselia. So yeah, that's going to be it for the round 2 match. So I am 2-0 going into the next 4 battles, so now I had to win 3 of the next 4 in order to make the top 8. So stay tuned, I'll be uploading the other games in the upcoming days. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, leave a like if you did, and I'll see you guys next time. Alright, peace.